Hello? Rescue hooks to rescue, Mayday! Get ahead, West. Fast Mayday, what's your location? Get the panel out of here, hurry up! We need radio silence, baby. Water in that 2.5 inch line. 48 inch water in a 2.5 inch line. To the rope, to the rope. 35 in the rear, 35 in the rear.
Welcome to the Emergency Traffic Podcast. Hello and welcome back. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Emergency Traffic Podcast, where we take a review line of duty deaths of firefighters and try to learn from these tragedies so that we can prevent them in the future. And this week is episode 84. We're going to Houston, Texas. We've been in Texas a few times, unfortunately, but it is a big state. So this time we are joined by Denis, and Doug may join us if he gets the kids put to bed and stuff in time to join us. But anyway, we'll get started with the episode. How are you? How are you, Denis?
I'm fine, Paul. Sorry, I got you laughing in there beginning because I tried to cut you off, so I apologize about that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you're in a mood today. I can tell.
Yeah, well, I could get you laughing too if I'm going to talk about Alberta politics, but we won't do that.
Oh, yikes! Here we go. Yeah, where's Doug? I need backup.
Anyway, winter has arrived.
Yeah, you got some snow there, huh?
Yeah, snow and cold air, but you know, we're like the Miami of Canada this week, so everybody else is freezing cold, and we're sitting down here with 10, 11 degree weather, and not this morning now. And this morning it was below freezing. So
yeah, it was 12 here on Monday, and almost that on yesterday. I went and did windows and Christmas lights and all that stuff outside, so it was quite nice in the sun. Yeah,
very impressive.
Trying to keep.
I know my coordinator boss is talking to me about going out and putting up the Christmas lights, and I'm resisting. It's not even a month. It's more than a month before. Like, really? Isn't it early?
I gotta put mine up before the snow flies because my roof is. I got one section that's pretty steep.
Yeah. Well, you should just put up them permanent ones that are in the eaves.
I know.
And then you can sit in there in your easy chair with your remote control and strobe messages to your neighbors.
Yes, I want to buy those, but I haven't figured out how I'm going to get them up on my top peak roof. When I put the mounts for the other Christmas lights, the ones I have now, I actually used a fire truck. I think it was Whitchurch Stouffville's 75-foot aerial. The chassis and aerial happened to be in front of my house the day I was putting up Christmas lights. So,
well, the solution to that problem is to do it in the summer.
Yeah, but I still need a ladder truck to do it, or a really tall extension ladder.
Yeah, or just a safety line. You'll be okay.
Yeah, hang off the end of the roof. Thanks. I get in trouble from my daughter because I go do Christmas lights and stuff when no one's around, right? In case she's worried if I fall, no one's here to rescue.
Yeah, it's okay. They'll find you in the spring.
That's right. Exactly. I got a couple of interesting current events here I wanted to touch on before we got going, since we haven't done an episode for a few weeks. But you heard about this turf war, county city in Kentucky. There was it's a county department, a paramedic from a county department heard of a call get dispatched of a child choking on a lollipop. And so he was less than a mile away from where this occurred. So he responded himself personally to the call, rescued the child from choking on a lollipop, and the chief of the city department sent a letter to the county department saying, please refrain from having your personnel respond to our calls in our city in the future. I guess
that's tone deaf.
A battling turf war been going on for a while, and this firefighter went and saved a kid's life, and the chief saying, keep your people out of my town. It's not uncommon.
No, it's not, sadly, but I bet you it went downhill from there.
Yeah, it's still in the news. Actually, my dad, back in Richelieu, Maryville, I think, went to a fire in a trailer park on the edge of town. It was actually Maryville's district, and Richelieu went first. And they had hoses set up, and they're fighting this fire in a mobile home. And Maryville showed up, and hey, get out of this is ours. This is our fire. And the story my dad told was they said, well, our hoses, our truck, everything's here, just use it. And no, you guys get out of here. We'll get our own stuff going. And then they couldn't get their pump going or something. It was wintertime, frozen. And yeah. These things happen. They've been happening for centuries. How long ago that would have been? That would have been like 1970, 69, 68.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, municipalities are waking up to the fact that this is just not the way to do business. I can think of several incidents here where there's been turf wars and municipalities are finally saying, okay, we're fixing it. We're closing you and keeping you. They're fixed.
Yeah. So. It's happening slowly. Exactly.
Yeah.
A former chief, deputy chief, and captain in Gaston County, North Carolina, were charged or indicted with charges for they were fired. Apparently, they got a new administration. Fire chiefs are like hockey coaches, are hired to be fired. Anyway, these guys got let go, and they hired a new administration. They disabled the emergency dispatch application like Active 911 or whatever they were using, and all the hydrant mapping. They took it all away and everything like that. And so they were charged for impeding the emergency services after they left. So crazy.
Wow, incredibly selfish. My
God. I know. And no concern for the number one thing is the people, right? But
clearly, it was always all about them.
Yeah, exactly. And they got let go, probably with good reason. Wow. And
people read this in the public, in the paper, and they just go, well, it reinforces every negative stereotype that some folks have, and it's just reinforcing it. And hello.
For sure. There was a good one here. A painter and some firefighters rescued a guy that decided the painter was coming off a 900-foot tower, big radio tower. He was up there painting, but it was too windy, so him and his partners decided to come down. And as they were getting in their vehicles, they saw a civilian run up to the tower, strung out on drugs or something, and start climbing up. And the painters went up and restrained the guy while the firefighters came to help take him down in St. Louis County, Missouri. So how's that one for an interesting tech rescue call?
Good for them. But there was no anti-climbing shield on that tower?
Well, it might have been off because they were working, I'm guessing, maybe.
Safety doesn't take a holiday.
They had just come down and were getting in their vehicles, and this happened. So I don't know.
Yeah.
There was an tragedy, an explosion in a home while a firefighter in Michigan was modifying an old SCBA tank. He was actually doing some modifications to make it into a toilet paper roll holder, where you cut a slot in it and stuff and put it in a bathroom. Apparently it blew up on him when he started working on it. So I don't know if the gauge was defective and it still had pressure in it or something like that. So
failed to verify it was empty, I guess.
Please remember, any discarded SCBA cylinders should have a hole drilled in them to make sure that they can't be used. And so obviously that didn't happen. So,
that's the responsibility of the fire department or the last owner, really. You got to take responsibility for this stuff.
Yeah. So tragic.
And not a little tiny hole either.
I guess. You don't want
something too big to put a screw or a bolt in.
Right. And then, of course, last week we had the Louisville plane crash. Oh my gosh, that was an amazing incident in response. We shared the run card amongst ourselves, and it was all over some of the fire media and stuff like that. They had 35 engines and 7 ARF trucks, plus all the hazmat and foam and rescues and everything else that went to it. An absolute amazing response. I was teaching a ICS planning section chief course that week, and I used it as an example. So I was in a major metropolitan city here in Alberta. There's only 2, but I was in one of them anyway. And I said, okay, how would you guys handle this? And it's like, wow, Edmonton has like 41 pumps. How would you get 35 pumps to a call, right? Or engines.
Yeah, that was so tragic, eh? And when you get, I think there was only 3 crew members on the aircraft, but you got people on the ground. It landed in one of those industrial parks that's around the periphery of the airport, and so there's daytime. There's always lots of potential for other folks to be around. And I saw some of the dash cam footage and people watching a plane crashing right in front of their noses, scary
there's
stuff.
Some excellent videos about it, or information YouTube's Captain Steve, who's a pilot, has done quite a few already. And yeah, I mean, the fact that it went up on one wing kind of, so it made that knife edge and went so far. If it had belly landed, it would have stopped sooner. But of course, because it went up on the wing, it just kept flying. Yeah, it's and full thrust, right? The engines were still going, and yeah.
Well, the engines that were still there, yes.
Yeah.
So, as firefighters, you see these videos and you go, oh my God, and you got to have empathy for the people on board and the people on the ground. But the next thought in your head needs to be, what would I do if this was my district?
Yeah.
How would I handle this? Could I handle it?
Yeah, I've listened to some of the radio traffic. It's amazing, right? 38,000 gallons of jet fuel on that plane, spread over a mile in your community. And the destruction, right? Collapsed buildings and cars and power lines and everything.
Yeah, tragic.
Okay, well, back to our episode here. So November 6th of 2024. So this is a fairly new report. Only came out a year ago, but I thought it was fitting. It's a warehouse, and actually we're going to do a warehouse for the next episode as well.
This is a NIOSH report, eh, Paul?
This is a NIOSH report. Yes, thank you for that. A 42-year-old career firefighter died, and a 38-year-old firefighter was injured while performing rapid intervention team tasks at a vacant warehouse fire in Houston, Texas. Houston, Texas, obviously a large career fire department, consists of about 4,000 uniformed personnel and approximately 100 civilian personnel. Approximately 3,800 of those personnel are assigned to the Emergency Response Division that provides fire protection and emergency medical services. The department's Emergency Response Division works 72-hour duty cycle. Members work a total of 480 hours that are made up of 18 24-hour shifts, and they also have 2 24-hour debit day shifts, apparently. I'm not too sure how that works, but anyway. They have 93 fire stations located throughout the city, and they serve a population of 2.3 million people across 637 square miles. The fire department divides the cities into quadrants, and these are further divided into 21 districts. The fire department is certified ISO Class 1 fire department and is accredited through the Commission of Fire Accreditation International as of 2021. Interesting note, one of my students in my course last week is the person responsible for this department's accreditation. So that's what she works on all the time is maintaining the accreditation for the fire department. It's pretty cool. I would have liked to spend more time talking with her about that. So I don't know a lot about that. Do you?
Well, you really get to know the nuts and bolts of the department, that's for sure. And there are people that criticize accreditation, right? Because it's a series of checklists, and did you do this, and are you what percentage are you in that, and that's important, but it's not everything, right? So there's more to it than that, I think. So
yeah, interesting. I was trying to give you a platform to stand on.
Yeah.
The department also provides aircraft rescue firefighting for 2 airports within the city. The fire department participates in county-wide mutual aid agreement for fire protection and suppression that was drafted in 2017 and automatically renews every year. This agreement is massive. It's across all departments within the county, whether they're career, combination, or volunteer, and it includes more than 71 different entities. The fire department responds to over 395,000 calls for service annually. It's just amazing that they have a 71 different municipalities or entities in a mutual aid agreement. That is really cool. So
likely that includes some industrial departments too, I'm guessing.
Most likely.
Possibly some industrial brigades.
Yep, which we saw in that Louisville plane crash. Actually, 3 or 4 industrial agencies responded, the National Guard responded, and many other district fire departments responded. So that was really cool.
Yeah. Remember, Houston's a major petrochemical center also, right? So
yes, absolutely.
Within that larger area. So I'm guessing there's several refinery and petrochemical plants involved in this too. So.
Which is great. Here in my county where I live, actually, they have a mutual aid organization between the municipalities and the local industry, because we're several large petrochemical plants here in my county as well, and they regularly operate together and they train together. They'll go to Texas A&M, or they'll go to the fire school in Vermilion, Lakeland, with municipal firefighters as well as the industrial one. So this emergency response division has 2 deputy chiefs, 3 safety officers, 3 cascade units, a command van, a rehab unit, 21 district chiefs, 88 engine companies, 33 ladder companies, 5 tower companies, 57 ambulances, and an additional 5 during peak times. There's 41 medic units, which 5 squads, 7 ambulance supervisors, 2 senior ambulance supervisors, 1 EMS district chief, and 3 rescue companies, 4 hazardous materials companies, and 16 airport rescue firefighting units. Wow.
So I think that's all daily availability, Paul?
Right. I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, your 21 district chiefs are obviously per shift.
Yeah.
21 districts.
Yeah. Right. Yep. Exactly. I did some work down in Houston. We sold them lots of fire trucks. I spent lots of time down there doing truck specs and working with them. It's a pretty impressive operation. Very big.
Yeah.
The minimum staffing per day is 849 personnel. The deputy chief, safety officers, cascade units, command man, ambulance supervisors, senior ambulance supervisor, district EMS district chief, and rehab unit are each staffed with a single person. Okay, so they just respond as needed. The district chief's ambulances, medic units, and squads are each staffed with 2 personnel. Engine companies, ladder companies, tower companies, rescue companies, hazardous material companies are all staffed with 4 personnel. Ambulances are classified as basic life support, BLS, while squads and medic units are classified as advanced life support, or ALS. The fire department provides EMS service up to and including ALS transport. Well, hello, Doug. Doug's joining us here. We're just getting started here, so welcome back. How are you?
Hello, I'm good. I'm sorry I'm late, but
hey,
that's
we're
how
glad you
things
could
go.
join in. We know you're a
Yeah.
busy time with kids and everybody's working and all that kind of stuff.
Sounds good. Get back at her. Don't mind me.
So we're going to talk a little bit about the training and experience of the department in general and of the 2 fatalities in particular. So the fire department hires through the civil service process. That's pretty common for big outfits. The minimum requirements to apply are that the applicant must be between the ages of 18 and no more than 36 years old when they take the oath of office, have completed 15 accredited college hours or 2 years of full-time active duty military service with an honorable discharge, and have 2 or less moving violations in the last 36 months. So that would be with your driver's license. Thank you.
Not like the guy in Florida who got hit by a train who had a suspended license a few times that same year.
Okay. Good point. Upon accepting a conditional job offer, the applicant must attend the academy and complete between 8 and 10 months of daily rigorous physical training and classroom instruction. Upon graduation, applicants have certifications from the Texas Commission on Fire Protection as Fire Basic, Texas Department of State Health Emergency Medical Technician Basic, and and be on the National Registry of Emergency Medical Technicians. So it's a combined fire EMS department, basically, is what's going on in Houston. And EMS is a big part of it, I'm sure. Once the candidate successfully graduates from the academy, they are assigned to their fire station. Once assigned to their fire station and their shift, all personnel then must complete a minimum of 24 hours of on-the-job training and continuing education per month. And they're working 24-hour shifts, so that's actually training pretty much every time you're working. The deceased firefighter, who was on Engine 23, assigned position B, he had 8.5 years of experience with the department. He had participated in a variety of monthly company-level trainings, as most firefighters would do, and the fire department training records showed participation in trainings such as hazardous materials, RIT skills, Rapid Intervention Team for those who call it RIT, building construction, multi-company drills, equipment and apparatus familiarization, EMS continuing ed, area familiarization, so that's know your district, and tactical decision-making on offensive and defensive fires. Per the fire department records, this firefighter had routinely logged approximately 30 hours of training per month, so he exceeded the 24 minimum. The second injured firefighter, who was also on Engine 23 seat position C, he had approximately 6 years of experience with the department. He had participated in a variety of monthly company-level trainings also, as he was required to do. Fire department training records showed participation in training such as Mayday training, building construction, operational readiness, EMS continuing ed, and truck company tactics, although he's on an engine company. So per department records, this firefighter had routinely logged between 24 and 30 hours of training per month. So he was meeting his minimum training requirements as the department required.
We're going to talk about apparatus personnel and accountability equipment. The minimum staffing for the career fire department in this incident is 2 personnel assigned to a district chief vehicle, which would be the district chief and the incident command technician, or ICT. 4 personnel assigned to engines, truck, and rescue companies. The city must often brown out companies due to staffing issues while maintaining a sufficient standard of coverage for fire protection and EMS services. Staffing vacancies are filled with personnel working their debit day, picking up optional overtime, or being mandated to work overtime. Personnel are assigned to a specific position and apparatus by the staffing. OEC calls are received by civilian call takers. The OEC dispatchers for the fire side of the center are sworn personnel at the rank of communications captain or above, with a minimum of 5 years within the department. The OEC dispatchers utilize a digital trunking 700 megahertz encrypted system for all radio communications. The fire department in this incident utilized a pre-established run card assignment based on information provided by the civilian call taker. A first alarm assignment for a warehouse fire included 2 district chiefs, 4 engines, 2 truck companies, a medic unit, and a safety officer. The 3 rescue companies spread throughout the city were recently added to working fires across the city. However, it was noted by the fire department that this type of incident was missed in the change. The captain assigned to Rescue 42 self-dispatched their unit to this fire upon hearing Engine 18 call a working fire. First alarm units at the time of the collapse, 2 chiefs had 2 firefighters each, or a firefighter and a chief, 4 engines with 4 people each, 2 trucks with 4, 1 safety officer, 1 rescue with 4, and 2 medic units. Second alarm at the time of the collapse was 2 more chiefs with 2 each, 4 more engines with 4 each, 2 more trucks with 4 each, and 1 more safety officer with.
So I did the math on that. So on the first alarm was 33 firefighters plus the medics, and the second alarm was an additional 29 more firefighters. So that totals 62, but I don't know if they were all on scene at the collapse or not. So.
Yeah, so it falls in line. Remember reading that Fall River report, and 1710 says high risk, you need 42. So these guys were well within 15 minutes or something. So they were within that. So good response, really. Excellent response for all the staffing.
The fire department utilizes an electric accountability system that integrates to the individual firefighter's self-contained breathing apparatus and portable radio and transmits information to a computer terminal in the command vehicle. The accountability, or SDI, terminal is operated by the ICT that responds with the district chief. So I don't know if the command vehicle is a separate vehicle or if that's the chief's vehicle.
I'm not sure. I think it's the chief's vehicle. It doesn't mention a command post or anything in the report.
Well, the chiefs, both of those chiefs that responded on this, they both have aides with them. So I assume that that's the assigned task of at least one of them.
It might be
the ICT.
It might be a van like Calgary uses, or an SUV like most of the rest of the world uses.
It's not listed on the card, Paul, so I don't think so.
Paul's saying that the chief might respond in a van. Paul will not miss an opportunity to throw that at chiefs in a van somewhere. It's like blue card, chief in a van, put that all on your bingo card.
Welcome back to the podcast, Doug. The way it should be, with space to work and interview people and stuff.
The weather on November 6th, 2024 at 22:50 hours was mostly cloudy. The temperature was 76 degrees Fahrenheit with winds from the east-northeast at 5 miles per hour. The humidity was 91% with no precipitation. At 23:50 hours, the humidity increased to 94% with no precipitation, with winds from the east at 6 miles per hour.
So, beautiful evening in Houston, Texas for November. Not too hot, not raining. The County Central Appraisal District, this is the building, the records for the property state the vacant warehouse was 13,000 square feet and built in 1955 of average quality. I don't know what that is, but anyway. The total square footage included 1,680 square feet of space that was designated for 2-story offices. The building also had a partial partition wall between the 2 overhead doors on the alpha side, closest to the delta side. The wall did not go from floor to ceiling or from wall to wall. The building had no cooling system, but did contain unit heaters. The wall construction was primarily concrete block or cinder block with brick veneer on what appeared to be the office portion of the building. The brick veneer post-collapse appears to have had a gap or separation between the veneer and the block wall in the post-collapse images. If this space existed pre-collapse, it increased the risk of collapse. One of the 6 overhead-style doors in the loading alpha side of the building, loading dock, had a canopy roof over it. It does rain a lot in Houston, so having a little roof or an extension over an overhead door is fairly common. So you can have the door open while it's raining. The office on the Delta side of the building had a small porch with steps on either side to a double-door storefront style entrance with burglar bars over the doors. This entrance also had a canopy over it with several slots in the brick veneer towards the Alpha side of the building, where it appeared that an original larger canopy had once been installed but was no longer. The Delta side canopy roof was constructed of dimensional lumber and a wooden veneer topped with asphalt roofing material. The Bravo side of the building also had one overhead style door. Of course, we'll post pictures in our socials of the building. The building had no fire protection system. The roof construction was made of steel bar joists landed on a wide flange steel beam, which were supported by the brick columns or smaller wide flange steel columns throughout the warehouse. The bar joists were topped with steel decking and roll-style asphalt roofing material. This should be noted during the departmental pre-incident planning, especially when there may be a lack of additional supports to maintain structural integrity. If the bar joists fail early in an incident, the roof and attached walls of the structure will separate. So just watch out for those when you're doing your pre-planning in your district, Doug.
So I just want to point out that you can actually look up this building on Google Maps, and its address is 400 South 66th Street. And the canopy, for instance, on the Delta side is actually supported by pipe columns. So that's actually probably important because there is a collapse of that side that's important in this incident. So you can see the configuration where the guys rolled up to this building. Investigation. So we're going to talk about some details of the incident itself. So the incident occurred on November the 6th, 2024 at approximately 22:50 hours. There was a 911 call received by the Emergency Communications Center for a 3-story warehouse on fire with only an approximate location given. As the first call was being handled by the civilian call takers, additional calls were being answered for the incident of a warehouse on fire and in the near location to that provided by the initial call. As the call taker began entering information into the CAD terminal, the first alarm suggested units were populated and those were dispatched. The units dispatched included DC-20, DC-8, Engine 18, Engine 20, Engine 40, Engine 23, Tower 18, Ladder 20, and Safety SF-30, which is the safety guy. So within 4 minutes of the initial call, all first alarm units were en route to the incident location. The communications assigned this incident to a TAC channel, TAC 4 for those who are keeping track. At approximately 22:57 hours, Engine 18 updated to dispatch that we've got a column of smoke and indicating a working fire. So dispatch copied the update and rebroadcast they had a working fire. At approximately 22:58 hours, so that's 8 minutes after the 911, Engine 18 arrived on scene and sized the incident up as a large warehouse fire showing from the roof, heavy fire. Alpha side is 66th Street. It's actually 66th Street South, but that's okay. Dispatch copied the message. Engine 20 approached from the cross street, which was on the Delta side. And within seconds of Engine 18's size up, Ladder 20 then arrived and positioned behind Engine 20 on the Alpha Delta corner and reported working fire, mobile command. Seconds later, DC-20 arrived and updated, assuming command, heavy fire from a 1-story warehouse. At approximately 22:59 hours, Engine 18 broadcast this incident as a defensive fire. So there's pictures in the report of arrival conditions, and it's through the roof. This building's definitely on fire. So dispatch asked Engine 18 to repeat their last message, and Engine 18 repeated defensive fire. So communications dispatched an emergency tone and rebroadcast all units. This is a defensive fire. The IC then ordered Ladder 20 to set up their ladder pipe. Truck 18 then reported that they were setting up their ladder pipe up and opening garage doors on the Alpha side. The IC copied the report from Truck 18. At approximately 2300 hours, so 9 minutes after the 911 call, ladder 20A position, radioed IC, so that's probably the captain, commanded tick readings through the open door about 1,000 degrees at the roof, heavy smoke and fire, and some of the roof is starting to collapse. So they're seeing this through an open garage door, loading door. So the IC acknowledged the report and requested the ladder pipes on Truck 18 and ladder 20, Tower 18, be set up. The IC updated all units that the SDI, which is the accountability computer terminal Doug mentioned earlier, was in place, and I guess the telemetry is working to the air packs. So engine 40 arrived and then advised the IC, we're on location connecting to a plug and we'll be supplying ladder 20. Engine 23 arrived and were then assigned to the RIT responsibilities. So engine 23 is where the two fellows lost their lives. So at approximately 2301 hours, Truck 18 updated command, we're going to have engine 18 supply Truck 18. We've got a plug right behind Truck 18. IC acknowledged the message. Medic 18 then requested to be added to the incident instead of Medic 40. So the IC ordered engine 40 to supply ladder 20 through the rear bumper so they'd be direct into the tower. And engine 20 updated. Command D-side exposure. We're pulling an 1 3/4 to protect it. We don't have a supply. I don't know if that's a D-side exposure, the other side of the road, Paul, or it's the side of the fire building.
No, it's beside it. It's in one of the pictures there. It's kind of a white stucco building that's right beside it.
Yeah, but that's not the D side. That's the Charlie side. So this is D side exposure. So I'm not sure just exactly what they're referring to there, because there is another warehouse across the side street. So that might be just a typo, but whatever. Behind it, right, there's like another building on the Charlie side that's about 10 feet away, maybe something like that.
Yeah, right.
So maybe they're referring to the Charlie side. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Anyway, so they pulled an 1 3/4, and that was ladder 20. Engine 20 was doing the exposure protection. So engine 23 crew went to DC 20's vehicle and retrieved the RIT equipment for their assignment because they were assigned to RIT. So engine 18 established their water supply. Engine 40 acknowledged their assignment and asked if they were to be RIT after establishing the water supply. IC advised engine 23 is RIT. So ladder 20 advised then that they were set up for water, and ladder 20A captain, in other words, called IC and was ready to give a CAN report. Help me on that one, Paul. What's a CAN report?
Conditions, actions, and needs.
Okay, so that's an internal thing for those guys.
Blue card.
Oh, blue card, is it? Okay.
Yep. What are your conditions? What actions are you taking, and what do you need?
Okay, very good. Thank you. So blue card is slightly after my time. So at approximately 2302 hours, the IC was ready for the CAN report. Ladder 20A stated collapse of the roof, heavy fire, exposure on the CD side, going to have to get inside, already starting to smoke up. Trying to get water on it right now. I'm not sure why they're going inside on
the exposure. The exposure.
So that's the building on the Charlie side they're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, got it right. Okay, so ladder 20 was in position to hit with a pipe, no further needs. So the IC responded, receive District 20 to all companies, do not go interior. Engine 20 requests personnel to assist with dragging the supply line to a nearby hydrant. The IC assigned the crew of Medic 18 to assist. Engine 23 then staged the RIT equipment on the ground near the Alpha Delta corner of the building. So that's near ladder 20. At approximately 2304 hours, the IC requested the status of the water supply, to which engine 18 Charlie responded, water coming. So that is one of the guys on the truck. So the IC updated dispatch that a water supply was established to both ladder pipes. DC-8 arrived as the IC updated all companies on scene. Command to all companies on the Delta Division, let's stay clear of that wall. It looks like it's going to collapse outwards. The IC assigned DC-08 to side Alpha, engine 23B, and engine 23C. Those are the two guys on engine 23. Walked up onto the Delta side porch to soften the building as part of the RIT assignment. So that's the door that is the entrance on the Delta side, and it has a small porch roof supported by some pipe columns that outboard, but it's right up against the wall.
And typically, RIT, one of their assignments, if you're doing RIT, is to soften the building in case you need to go in. Although I don't know how that applies in a defensive fire when no one's supposed to go in. Do you still do that if you're RIT? What do you think, Doug?
I guess not. If there's no one in there or going in there, then leave the building as it is. Because part of the issue with softening the building is you're creating more flow paths for oxygen to
If
get
you
in and
open
begin
it,
fire.
softening usually just means busting it. Although it's really hard on a barricaded door to not damage it or wreck it.
How do you bust a window without? How do you soften a window
Yeah,
and bust it
exactly.
without
So
opening
you're
it?
right.
If you look at the
Like-
street view photos of this building, and the photos in the report itself, this building is rocking and rolling. There's major fire coming out the roof. But if you're up close to that delta side wall, you may not be really cognizant of what's going on with the rest of the building, right? Which is the role of the incident commander, is to have that view of everything. And he's already told everybody to stay away from the building. But that whole delta side, right? It's all armored. All the windows and doors are all protected with bars and so forth. So I guess they're going to force those doors.
So approximately 23:05 hours, Incident Command requested a second alarm be dispatched. Engine 20 called IC. Command, we got a collapse on the Delta side. IC responded, received. IC to all companies, stay away from the Delta division. The ICT noticed that Engine 23B's radio suddenly changed to the wrong channel for the incident and that their SCBA pressure dropped approximately 650 psi since their arrival on scene. At approximately 23:06 hours, Engine 23 Alpha declared a mayday. I'm assuming that's the captain. 23 Alpha would be the yeah. IC acknowledged the mayday. Communications called IC. Command, you had a mayday, possibly ladder 20D, which is not Engine 23A. IC confirmed the message. We're working on getting him out right now. Communications confirmed to the IC the second alarm was dispatched and asked if they wanted a third alarm for the mayday. IC was asked for the third alarm, or IC then asked for the third alarm. Engine 23B's SCBA showed approximately 600 more PSI drop, as well as the pass showing it was in full alarm. A couple minutes later, 23:07, ladder 20 updated IC that one firefighter had been removed. The ICT sent an electronic par check over the radio to Engine 23B. Engine 23B's SCBA pressure dropped in another 1200 PSI. IC asked how many personnel were missing. Ladder 20 thought one and went to get
One
a par.
more, Doug. Yeah.
Thought one more, sorry. I went to get a par. Engine 1 arrived and was ordered to report to the command post. Engine 40 updated that they had one more person trapped under debris. A moment later, Ladder 20 advised IC there were two firefighters missing and actively working to get them. Ladder 20 requested operations go to a different channel so the rescue could have this one. Engine 23B's SCA pressure dropped an additional 450 psi, and the electronic accountability system in use by the department showed that there was 0 psi remaining in the SCBA. At approximately 23:08 hours, Rescue 42 arrived, and it was assigned to the Delta side for the extrication of the trapped firefighter. IC asked if there was another firefighter missing at approximately 23:11 hours. So that's about, 5 minutes-ish, 6 minutes-ish after this all started. Tower 18 requested water. Communications updated IC that they were at the 10-minute incident clock and advised ladder 20A was showing an alarm. IC requested a par for ladder 20. Other personnel responded he was okay and working in the rescue. Tower 18 updated they had water flowing on the alpha side of the building. IC updated the second firefighter was being extricated. Engine 23B's SCBA pass alarm showed cleared in the electronic accountability system as well. At approximately 23:11 hours, ladder 20 updated all victims and personnel clearing the collapse zone were out. IC requested all personnel evacuate the area of the Delta side and that communications could cancel the third alarm. Ladder 20 exited the collapse zone with the second victim as they needed ALS and AED protocols in effect. IC again asked all units to clear from the Delta side. Ladder 20 requested ALS meet them at the front of Ladder 20. IC ordered Medic 17 to the Delta side. At approximately 23:15 hours, Ladder 20 requested ALS a third time. IC ordered Engine 18 and Tower 18 to stay back from the wall on the Alpha Division. Ladder 20 was going to be flowing water in that area. Safety Officer 30 arrived on location. At approximately 23:16 hours, Tower 18 reported the bulk of the fire was knocked down on the Alpha side and asked if IC wanted the stream redirected. Communications notified IC that Ladder 20A was showing an alarm and asked for confirmation that all personnel were accounted for. IC confirmed that all personnel were accounted for and requested all personnel stay away from the building. At approximately 23:18 hours, Ladder 20 updated that all wounded personnel were out and everyone was outside of the collapse zone. Communications updated IC they were at the 20-minute incident clock. Engine 23C was transported to the hospital by Ambulance 23 and treated for minor injuries. Engine 23B was transported to the hospital by Medic 18 and was later pronounced deceased at the hospital. IC declared the fire under control at 23:44 and the scene was turned over to the arson division.
Wow. Just a couple of thoughts here. One is, this happened so fast. The maydays, the injuries happened in the first 10 minutes, really, of the on scene before the timer went off. And, which is interesting. The whole thing was rather quick because the warehouse burned quickly and collapsed. The other thing is the technology. We're really on the cusp of so much technology in the fire service, good, bad, or indifferent, right? We've got SCBAs that report to what radio channel they're on and to dispatch what pressure they're at and if their pass alarm's gone on. So the SCBAs are getting smart. I was just listening to the Firefighters podcast from the UK, and he talked about MSA's new Lunar system, which is their locating system on their SCBA. I haven't played with it. I know they were working on it 10 years ago when I was in the business, or 15 years ago. So that's coming along. The radios that are Calgary, I was just down there teaching a class. They've got new radios that have like a screen on them, like a cell phone. That's their new radios at over $10,000 a crack. But the tech cameras, the dispatch applications, we talked about that in the current events about how the disgruntled former employees went in and disabled the application for dispatching and where all the hydrants were and anything else that they put on the maps. The tablet command, here's an app that I really want to play more with it. I was playing with it a little bit back in 2016, 2015 in its infancy. Now you can have it. It's on an iPad. It's like a tactical board that you would use in a truck. It's all electronic. It logs it all for you, and it reports to dispatch. It pre-populates whatever units you got sent to your scene. Drones, robots, or remote-operated vehicles or monitors. The technology. We're going to have a tailboard talk just on technology because it's going so fast.
Yeah, I was Doug was reading this, and I was thinking about the challenges that were occurring on that Delta side of the building. They had Ladder 20 there, Engine 23 there, and I think there was another engine, right, that was down on the Delta Charlie corner. Correct me if I'm wrong on that.
Yeah, there's one right at the corner. It doesn't say which engine in the drawing, but it was I think it was 18 and 20.
Yeah.
And
no, 18 was with truck 18, so it wasn't them. It was somebody else. Maybe
there was another one over at a hydrant a little further down the street.
Engine 20.
With the attack line, they were taking the exposure, and then the other two together. And the chief command was right on the Alpha Delta corner. So this would have happened right in front of the chief officer's windshield.
Right. So this building, so it's a concrete block wall, and exterior to that is brick veneer. So you got quite a bit of weight there. And along that side, the building was more than 1 story high because it was like 2 stories internally, right? Like offices and maybe a mezzanine or something. So you got fairly high walls of masonry. So if that falls, there's an awful lot of weight there. And it would just, if you were caught underneath of it, it would crush you to the ground. And just walking in and trying to rescue people, you're not just grabbing onto them and pulling them out. You've got to shift a lot of that weight, and you wouldn't have. It's not all individual bricks; it would be slabs of them stuck together, right? So there's a lot of weight in the blocks stuck together, and then you've got a roaring fire inside. So suddenly, and you've all been around buildings where the walls have suddenly burned through or fallen or whatever. Suddenly, you're like majorly exposed to the radiant heat that's coming out of that building. And in this particular building, they were slightly downwind, right? I would point out that the report, the drawings reversed. It shows north to the south. So actually, the wind was in their faces on the delta side. Not a lot of wind, it's a very light wind. So you'd have all that heat, the radiant heat's coming at the crews also. So you're going to have hose lines for exposure protection. You're going to have crews to move materials, and plus you're concerned about the medical side of things too. So,
well, and the thing is so on that delta side where the collapse happened, there was that little roof over the doorway. So the double doors, and there's a bit of a porch, and you could go right or left,
like an 8x8 porch. It wasn't very big.
Yeah, with a couple of pipes holding it up. And I'm guessing that roof pulled either the wall fell on the roof and made it go down, or the roof pulled on the wall and the whole thing fell down on top of those guys that were softening those doors, right? Because that's what their target would have been, is soften those doors.
Yeah. I mean, that roof might have even protected them a little bit, right? But not sufficiently, of course. And of course, that's a raised stoop also that's there too. So there's an additional complication. There's stairs up the left side, stairs up the right side, a platform in the middle where the doors are, and you got the roof overhead, right? So there's all of that stuff in the way also. So it would have been, I would say, significantly challenging to find them and get them out of there and deal with the environmental conditions that were going on at the same time.
Yeah, and the recommendations are fairly generic.
You're not happy with them.
Well, they're fairly generic or blasé, because, I mean, they did all the stuff we usually pick out, that INRS usually picks out: inadequate staffing, inadequate communications, inadequate training, whatever. All that stuff is in here. I mean, these guys responded with tons of personnel. They have sophisticated systems. They established water supplies. The incident commander said, everybody stay away from the building, defensive fire only. And I guess the report didn't want to slam the firefighters, because remember, the problem with NIOSH reports, and we talked about this before, is they have no idea what was going through these people's minds. No idea if it was a bad day. Did they just, something happen? Who knows? They just went along and, hey, I'm Rit, I'm going to go soften the door. And then it collapsed on them. So but
I'm sure there's a RIT SOG, and in the RIT SOG it talks about, go get your equipment, certain equipment needed. It talks about being aware of who's where and what, monitoring radio channels, and it may even include things like softening up access points while you're waiting. But does it say in there that if you're defensive, you don't do that? Does it actually say that in the SOG? It may not. In which case, these guys may have just been following the OG.
Yep. Exactly.
I just skimmed through here. Have you seen or read or anything what the actual cause of death was? Was it like traumatic injuries from the collapse, or running out of air, or...
Let me go look.
Any of that? Not that it really matters, but like you guys have been saying, reading this, it kind of seems to me like they were doing
mechanical
asphyxia,
right, with the manner of death being listed as homicide.
Right.
That's the official
coroner's. He was crushed by something. Mechanical asphyxia.
Okay. So,
only one died, Jenny. One guy was injured.
One died seriously injured,
Yeah.
Lots of these reports that we do, like you say, it's the problem is the staffing. Well, that wasn't a problem here. The problem response, that wasn't a problem here. Not having a RIT team, not a problem here. Not having chief's aides, not a problem here. Like, they were doing everything properly, right? You could argue after maybe don't soften the building that no one's in.
Right.
But that's the same as laddering a window where nobody's there, because somebody might be there to get them out, right? So
if you're RIT, then you do what RIT is supposed to do. And they're probably thinking like, well, maybe we're going to go in and we'll get ahead of the game here, right? It's not like lots of times you go defensive and you have a knockdown and then you go inside.
Absolutely.
So it's hard to lay any fault. Not that I'm trying to lay fault, but it's it's hard to even take away like training moments from this, because lots of the things that we often have our recurring themes aren't a recurring
Exactly.
theme this time.
But that
And
was my thing.
but it's proof for the listener that, like, even when you're doing things right, even when your department is staffed and response and everything's going well, you still need to have your wits about you. Don't get complacent, because in a second,
Yeah,
something
very,
can
very
go
well
wrong.
said, Doug.
Yeah, and that was my thoughts earlier, that the IC has the better picture, right? And you know, basically should see the risk better. And if you're the team that's up close, you may not see it all.
But there's proof of that, because the one team said, "We got to go in. Let's go in and blah, blah, blah." And he said, "Nobody go in." He said, "No, you're not going in." And they still got the building fell on them from not going in. So it's so hard to, I don't know.
Yeah, it's tragic, that's for sure.
What do? Stand back a mile away and spray water and just wait for it to go out? I don't know.
So, well, let's rip through the recommendations here just for a bit. So, recommendation 1, develop pre-incident plans for structures within your first due response area, specifically dangerous or vacant structures. And we've been down the vacant structure road before. Fire department in this incident has a section dedicated to the AHJ's approved fire code compliance and adopted several international fire codes. The city handles vacant, dangerous buildings inspections and the associated responsibilities. The city provides a hotline for residents and visitors to report concerns. Tips received from the hotline are transferred to the appropriate entity within the city for follow-up and any needed conditions. Here's the important part. These entities are entirely separate from the fire department's fire marshal office, so they don't get the information. In this incident,
That's
the fire building...
big problem.
Yeah, the fire building was not occupied by an active business. The property had been employed an individual to occupy the building as a form of security, but there was no formal security in place. The individual was permitted by the building owner to live within the confines of the warehouse while it was unoccupied or a vacant site. Wow. So definitely
Probably not allowed either.
No, exactly. The vacant property in this incident was known to City Public Works and had recently undergone several rounds of exterior inspections. The structure had been occupied as recently as a month prior to the incident. Although the inspections had multiple failures, none of them qualified the building as dangerous. However, it was noted that all inspections conducted through this process were only from the exterior. Interior inspections of vacant properties can only be conducted using an administrative warrant unless personnel are invited into the property by the owner. The fire department in this incident is currently in the process of formally implementing pre-incident plans and emergency response.
I just want to say that any system of identifying vacant buildings and reporting them to the fire department where the building was occupied and an active business up to a month previously, a system, generally speaking, is not going to respond that quickly.
Yeah, right. Never going to catch it.
Well, that's what I was going to say when Paul was done, is even take out the month prior. In a city the size of Houston, you are never going to keep up with inspecting and marking and putting in your MDT and of all the vacant buildings ever. Like, by the time you get around to okay, this building's vacant, it's probably occupied again, and the occupancy changes. But the argument to that is, you don't always have to wait for your department to officially do things, right? When you're driving around, when you're getting groceries, when you're on your way to work, you can just, well, yeah, this building's, but like in a month, you might not even notice that a building went vacant, yeah. Right? Like, the sign could still be up, the lights could still be on, like, you have no idea.
But I would say also that if you have buildings like this in your fire district, you should walk inside of them. They're all virtually the same, the way they're built. And, masonry walls, steel columns. In some cases in here, they had brick columns, and you've got steel beams supporting steel joists and a flat deck, Q-deck roof on top. If you got any type of a fire that impacts the roofing system, gets a lot of heat up in there, it's coming down. And if you get any kind of heat in there, those beams are going to expand, and those masonry walls where the beams sit on, they're coming down. And if there are no carry beams carrying the joists are actually sitting on pads on top of the concrete wall, and they will grow and they will push the walls down. The building is coming down. These buildings are built cheap. They're designed to fall in a fire. They do not survive. And there's nothing to save. Once the roof's impacted, it damages the walls, and the thing is garbage. It's going in a dumpster afterwards. So they're dangerous buildings. You got to watch out for them.
Yeah, well said. Watch out for those buildings. What is it Brannigan said? Know your building, know your enemy.
Know your enemy. Anyway, recommendation 2, pretty short here. Develop and maintain OGs and OPs. The fire department in this incident provided their OGs to the NIOSH investigators for review. The department has well-defined guidelines. It's a big department. They should have. They provide a reference framework for personnel to use when they respond to incidents. The fire department also provides tracking on each document for when they are received, reviewed, and revised with a date. So in other words, if you sit down as a company and it's issued out for review and so forth, that's all documented. So, and changes and set and everything else, sign-offs. Department guidelines had many segments that had not been reviewed in 2 or more years, with many not having revisions in 4 or more years prior to the date of this incident. So having been involved in updating OGs and OPs, it's a major project. A department this side, you virtually need somebody that's their job. And often, the stuff's handled through training and middle level chiefs, right? Because they're the ones with their hands in. But as I mentioned earlier, when I was talking about OGs, I wonder if there was an OG that suspended other OGs. So when you're in defensive mode and you say, stay away from the building, I wonder if it was understood that superseded other standard OGs or practices. Like Doug says, your job was as writ to soften the building. Did you recognize that maybe you weren't expected to do that?
Yeah, exactly. Read the next line, though.
Who would think of that, right? Yeah, that's what I was saying. You need to have a process internally. Okay. You need to have staff pretty much assigned full-time to do that. In a department this size, that would have, the type of OGs that they have. And you need to collect feedback, right?
You need staff, and when you're cutting budgets, those are the kind of staff that get cut. So it's a big city. It's a downturning economy. Like things like this is what gets cut when things get cut. And this is what could happen because of it. At recommendation number 3, ensure incident commanders match their tactical strategy with the incident at hand. In this incident, the fire department was dispatched to a working fire at a vacant warehouse. Moments after arrival, Engine 18 declared a defensive strategy for operations. Each portion of the building type for this incident had its own set of tactical considerations to consider. Chapter 12 at NFPA 1700 provides specific tactical considerations for each of these building types. Section 1213 is specific to abandoned vacant structures, while Section 1215 is specific for warehouses. Abandoned or vacant structures are those that are no longer in use and could be in an unknown condition or compromised state. Example, weakened structural components, missing or holes in floors, and structural deficiencies. When operating at these types of structures, consider exterior fire control prior to entry, anticipate early collapse, anticipate unpredictable or increased fire activity or impediments to normal firefighting operations based on gutted, deteriorated, and modified interiors. Consider occupancy by squatters and transients. The construction of a building that can also help with the IC identify appropriate tactical strategy. The fire building in this incident was a Type 2 construction consisting of approximately 13,160 square feet, with 1,680 square feet of the building designated as office space. The building contained no means of automatic fire suppression. The roof was constructed of lightweight trusses topped with metal decking and asphalt roofing material. There was also no noted fire detection system. This combination allowed the fire to free burn until a passerby called to report the fire. The building also had burglar bars on the windows and a storefront-style door on the Delta side. RIT operations can be separated into a few stages depending on the scale of the incident and tactical strategy employed. The collapse of the Delta side wall occurred while personnel assigned to Engine 23 were in the process of working through what can be described as Stage 1. In the article, The Fire Scene, the 3 stages of RIT operations, stage 1 is described as the prevention stage from Salka in 2024, meaning the RIT team members assemble and place tools in a staging area. Oftentimes, ladders are positioned around the structure for rapid escape if conditions dictate the need. Other prevention duty of the RIT team is, air quotes, softening the building. The removal of window bars or other barriers that could prevent a firefighter retreating out through a window or door. These actions all take time to complete, and the RIT team operations may benefit from having these actions performed before the RIT team is deployed in a rescue situation. The other thing that might have been going through people's head when it comes to RIT softening is you're opening up ways to get water in the building also. Like if you're in a defensive strategy, maybe that's
because
part
we
of
know that
thinking.
the aerial spraying down on an intact roof is a waste of water. So you're absolutely right. Get some paths to get some water into the building to knock it down.
But if you review the communications from the on-scene guys that were there, there's no mention of the building being vacant that I recall. They may not have actually been aware that current status was vacant. And in fact, it actually wasn't fake. It wasn't vacant. There was somebody living there.
That's right. Exactly. There could have been a person in there. So, I mean, they did all the right stuff again.
Yeah. So the report calls it a vacant building, but really it wasn't.
Debatable. Yep. It wasn't identified.
It certainly wasn't poor condition. They did note that.
But then there's lots of buildings out there that are in poor condition. Yeah. Number 4, train all personnel to employ risk management principles when operating on the incident scene. There were discussions made early in this incident that did not employ appropriate risk management principles. Engine 18, within moments of arrival, declared this as a defensive fire over the tactical channel they were assigned. This was acknowledged by Incident Command and rebroadcast by communications, even with an alert tone. Ladder 20 Alpha arrived at seconds of Engine 18, performed a 360 of the structure, and provided the findings to the incident commander, as well as a conditions, actions, and needs report for effective containment of the fire. The CAN report informed the incident commander of the temperature at the ceiling of the building was 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit, and portions of the roof had already collapsed. Since the early 1990s, the fire service has operated under the mantra, risk a lot to save a lot, risk a little to save a little. Performing an offensive attack fire from inside the structure increases the inherent risk to the personnel that are performing the attack, whereas a defensive posture may provide added level of safety by keeping personnel outside the structure. Fire departments should provide personnel with a standardized risk management approach that could be employed at any incident, as per NIOSH 2020. Personnel operating at an incident should be cognizant of the safety they themselves and their crew to maintain maximum effectiveness. We've done several of these, and there's been lots of these incidents where crews. What was the one we had a really odd building and the wall collapsed into the alley and killed the firefighter? We did it about a year ago. It was a big 3-story kind of apartment building store.
Yeah. Landed on the engine, in fact, right?
Yeah,
the guys survived because they were on the other side of the engine.
Yeah, exactly. And so there's been lots of these, or the mezzanine at the gas station falls on people and stuff like that. It's just,
but in that particular incident, and it's kind of why I mentioned it here, the crews that were working there did not have a very good view of the incident overall. So they didn't have a good view of the risks overall. So they were operating in a risky area. And again, it was on the Delta side of the building. And they were not really aware that they were in a risky area. I mean, when you work within the fall zone of a wall, there is a risk there if the building collapses. But they were not specifically aware of the risk. And here, I don't think they were either.
Well, and we're getting more and more buildings that aren't on fire that are collapsing. I mean, we had that really big one in New York City where the whole boiler chimney shaft collapsed into the street. Wow. There was another one. Something. There was a parking garage somewhere in Ottawa or something that collapsed. There's no fire. The buildings are just falling down. And so this is the thing that, we have to be cognizant that these old buildings may be dangerous. And of course, if they're on fire, even more so.
Yeah, that was Elliott Lake, by the way, a few years ago. So
the mall, yeah. No, there was another one. There was one in Ottawa just a couple years ago, just this year. Yeah.
Anyway, recommendation number 5, Strategically deploy your safety officers. The fire department in this incident had 3 personnel on each shift assigned to the position of safety officer, and they covered the entirety of the city between the 3 of them. This equated to 1 safety officer for every 31 firehouses on average. The fire department may find added benefits such as response time if they increase the number of personnel trained to perform the duties of a safety officer. So this is a department that runs 1,000 calls a day. They're not all fires, but that's the call level. There was 360 or 70,000 calls a year, so so roughly 1,000 a day.
I'm sure a couple hundred are fires.
Well, yeah, we used to run between 5 and 8% of our calls were fires.
Right.
Of what percentage of those were working fires, so it's not a lot. But anyways, with the safety officer position operating as a separate but incorporated part of the IC staff, who should be looking for hazards and works with the personnel, they may provide a separate but an individual focus on the safety aspects of the incident. In other words, the safety officer is thinking not necessarily about what to do next, but they're thinking more about what's planned next and how it might affect safety. In other words, they are not assigned operational tasks, but are solely focused on the safety of the personnel on scene and changing conditions separate from the IC and their plan. So, the incident commander says, stay away from the wall, and the safety guy sees 2 guys walk up. His job is to walk over and say, don't do that. So I guess they're saying that didn't happen. So Mayday declarations within career fire departments oftentimes occurs within 20 to 35 minutes of the initial on-scene time, according to the 2021 Project Mayday report. Some of our reports, Paul, have been like as little as 3 to 5 minutes, right?
Oh, yeah.
Really, really fast. Anyway, of the 12,227 declared Maydays, I'm not sure what time period that is. I don't remember that report. It was like 10 years or something like that, Paul.
We reviewed it. Don Abbott's Project Mayday. Yeah.
I just
don't remember. We did an episode on that. No.
It's not 12,000 a year, that's for sure. It was over the span of the report. Anyways, approximately 6,300 or 51, almost 52% were within this window of on-scene time, the window being the first 20 to 35, within the first air pack bottle, in other words. In this incident, the Mayday occurred within 7 minutes of the arrival of the first unit, putting this incident within the lowest frequency of occurrences. Only 0.5% of Maydays included within the sample set occurred in less than 10 minutes of the first arriving unit. But this is a building that had no alarm system, right? The fire was noticed by people in an industrial park. So, you got a delayed response. A reported fire, the earlier the fire is reported, the less likely you're going to end up in a Mayday probably. So.
It was the perfect storm of delayed. No alerting in the building,
late
detection in the building. A big building that needs to get full before the smoke gets out, and darkness outside maybe one of the good things is, I don't know if it was an industrial park, because I think in Houston doesn't have like zoning. You can basically build whatever you want, wherever you want.
It was an industrial park,
Sure.
So there's no one around,
Yeah.
At night.
What would have been better is if nobody had noticed it and it fell into the ground all by itself. So that would have been better.
I think what the recommendation about the safety officer is kind of saying is there's only 3 in the giant city. It took them they weren't like, I went back and looked, and the guy's SCBA bottle was at 0 PSI before the safety officer got there.
So that
now, New York City only has 1 safety battalion chief for the whole city. They don't go till the second alarm. So in the meantime, one of the other chiefs should be, it's like you say, someone's in command until a chief gets there and takes command. Well, one of the chiefs should be the safety officer until the safety officer gets there and takes safety. That's how you get around the safety officer's not here yet. It's not like mom's away. So
incident commander should have appointed a safety officer. Absolutely. Yeah.
So the rest of it.
No, not the incident commander. The SOP should have designated who's the safety officer. The second chief out there. Don't leave it up to the commander.
Sure.
Take it off his plate. You say if you're the second, third, whatever chief there, you're safety till the safety officer.
Absolutely.
So actually, the rest of the discussion on this basically says it's also known that a high percentage of Mayday declarations occur when there's only one chief officer on the scene, and as high of 90% in some cases. This incident occurred in this particular case approximately 1 minute after the arrival of the second district chief. So that could have been your SOP safety officer, and 10 minutes before the arrival of the assigned safety officer. So that's your point, Doug.
This fire had 2 chiefs on the first alarm, 2 chiefs on the second alarm, and a safety officer. That's more chiefs than most of the things we talk about
the
even have on their
chief
department.
Only arrived a minute before the Mayday.
And the collapse occurred within the first 7 minutes. So basically, they were not all on scene.
Yeah,
That's
that second chief wasn't there yet. Yeah.
So it was.
My point is they're getting way more people there that can do these things than
basically
most departments out there, right?
This was going to happen. I mean, they did everything right, and it happened.
You can't. It's not the department's fault that this happened so quickly. It's not something you can learn from this incident to prevent from happening. It's something you can take away and be aware that it could happen. But the department didn't fail by not sending the right.
I think
people.
Doug's point is good. But these guys were on their own recognizance, really, when this incident happened. That's what happened.
When you've got a building with steel bar trusses on fire, expect those trusses are going to expand and or twist. And so, we just need to be aware that building could likely come down while you're there. It's so funny you talked about the no monitoring and delayed call, because I used those words last night, and I've used them before as a fire chief to. I was in a building that's valuable to the community. It's a cultural significance to the community yesterday, and I was meeting with their safety guy, and I'm going so they've got a security alarm in the building, and the building's 150 years old, and it's a multi-use kind of building. And I said to him, this building, it's important to you, right? Like this would be a big loss, right? Well, yeah. I said, so why doesn't it have a fire alarm? Well, what do you mean? I says, you want the police to call you at 4 a.m. when they drive by on the way to get a donut? I'll get some flack for that, I hope. That the building's on fire. Well, no, we want to know exactly. You got people using this building at all hours, different people. I said, you need a fire alarm. Oh yeah, that's a good idea. No kidding. And I use that for the historic train station in Fort Saskatchewan. They were touring us through it and how beautiful it was and all this kind of stuff. And I said to the lady responsible, I said, is this building important to you? And she said, well, yeah, it's a cultural resource for the city. I said, how come it doesn't have a fire alarm in it? Well,
how about sprinklers?
Well, then you're even going further. Yeah.
Because most historic buildings that burn down, they put sprinklers in afterwards.
Yeah. You're right.
And the guys riding the truck can't control what the people with the building do. I mean, you can suggest all you want. It's up to them. But keep in mind, what you can do is if you're going to these kind of the old historical buildings, the maybe
75-year-old warehouse,
listen to your dispatch update on the way, because lots of times dispatch will tell you how they got the call. So if they're not saying this call came from an alarm company, and if it's we got this call from a passerby or the cop going to get the donut, that could trigger in your head that this might be a bigger fire than we think it's going to be on a typical first alarm response.
That was Engine 18 gave it away when they said, we got to call them. We're still 2 minutes out.
That's right. That's right.
That's a giveaway. It's the middle of the night and you can see a column of fire from 2 minutes out. That's not good news.
Well, that's true, but I went to a call with Paul in Lacombe where in the middle of the night, the on-scene said, yeah, we got smoke showing from the hotel. And then the rest of us showed up and went, yeah, that's the chimney. There's supposed to be smoke coming out of there.
Wow. Bad call. Okay.
Training.
Well, thanks. Yeah, training. Back to point number 1, training. Yeah. So all good. Thank you so much for joining us today, Doug and Denis. Thanks for joining us on another Emergency Traffic Podcast. Please give us a like, a thumbs up, or now we're on YouTube so you can subscribe, and that way you get notified when we get a new episode out. So like Sergeant Phil Esterhaus said on the old Hill Street Blues show, let's be safe out there. What do you guys say?
You got to learn from these events. Everybody's got buildings like this in their jurisdiction. This is a good one that you can all learn from. They're dangerous. Be aware. Listen to your IC. Do everything you're supposed to do, but just think for yourself too. Be safe.
See you at the big one.